Hi, this is Trent Lutz
And Jenny Smith.
from your Government Relations team, and today we're going to be going over how to properly collect signatures during our revenue campaign. To start off, we're going to show you exactly what the sheet looks like.
So here's an example. There's a couple of main things on the petition sheet that I want you to notice and get familiar with. First is the petition number in the top right-hand corner. That's going to be different for each petition that we put forth. This round we're going to have 3 petitions, 22, 23, and 24. Make sure the full text of each petition is stapled to each sheet. And the petitions you get, the official ones, should come like that, so don't worry too much about it. Just don't unstaple them or print out your own sheets. These here are the signer lines. Have people sign here, 1 through 10. Each person has to put down their signature, the date, their full name, and their address where they're registered to vote. Down at the bottom is the circulator section. This is for the person gathering signatures to fill out when they're done.
Just a second is that you need to know that the circulator is actually the volunteer who's out collecting signatures. So we just want to make that very clear. When it says circulator, it means the person who's out gathering signatures. So that's you.
Carrying around the clipboard. Remember, you have to have the clipboard with you at all times and see people filling out the form. Lastly, on the petition sheet, you need to leave the sheet number section blank. The front of the petition, the back of the petition, and then expect to have the petition text stapled to it. And this is the full nitty-gritty about what the petition does.
Any voter can have a chance to look at this before they sign the petition. So going through exactly what you need to do to make sure that these are counted signatures is to make sure that people sign correctly. Number one is that only registered voters can sign these petitions and have their votes counted, or have their signature counted. They can only sign for themselves, so they can't sign for a spouse or a friend or anybody like that. They can only use their name. They need to use their real signature, like the one that's on their voter registration card or their driver's license. And the date must be correct. And in order to make that sure, they have to use the format of month, day, and year. That's important that they do all 3. Otherwise, it could invalidate their signatures. And they need to print their full legal name. So I'm sorry, Jenny, you need to use Jennifer. You can't go by Jenny whenever you sign the petition sheet.
All right, good to know.
And using their residence or mailing address is critical. It's where they're registered to vote in Oregon.
Next, make sure to have each signer sign all 3 petitions. Make sure you check that petition ID number in the top right-hand corner so that you're not having them sign multiple times on one petition, because each signer can only sign each petition once. Don't make any extraneous marks on any petition sheet. So don't stick any stickers, don't highlight anything, and don't write on the petition sheet how excited you are about these measures. All of those things could invalidate the whole sheet of signatures.
The fact is that you need to turn in all of the signatures. A petition sheet can be filled out completely or actually just have a few signatures. No matter what, we need to make sure that that sheet gets turned in. It's okay if signers skip lines. And once you're done collecting a petition sheet, complete the circulator section at the bottom. You only do that at the very end. And after you, the volunteer or the circulator, has signed the bottom, you can't gather any more signatures on that sheet.
So Trent, what if I sign at the bottom of a sheet and then I want to gather more signatures?
Well, hopefully we've given you plenty of signature sheets so that you can keep collecting. But you should actually go ahead and send that signature sheet in and go ahead and start with a fresh new signature sheet and get out collecting.
Sounds good. Okay, so you're the circulator. We need to make sure you sign correctly at the bottom. When you're completely done getting those signers on your petition sheet, sign your name at the very bottom and fill out the information. Write the date, again in that month, day, year format, your full legal name, so Jennifer, not Jenny. Print your address where you're registered to vote, and make sure to leave that sheet number section blank.
Great. And lastly, before that voter walks away, just do a quick check to make sure that they've gotten all the information correct, because there is a chance where they can actually correct their information. If a signer makes a mistake, they should cross out the incorrect information and then rewrite the correct information and just put their initials next to it to show that it's actually them who's done that work. If needed, they can cross out the entire line and actually just re-sign the petition.
If the circulator makes a mistake, I'm sorry, Trent.
No, go ahead.
If the circulator makes a mistake, don't cross anything out. Just write the correct information next to the wrong one and initial it. So again, if you're the circulator, this is really important. Do not cross anything out. I think what I should have said, Trent, before I interrupted you, was that if a signer makes a mistake, they have to be the one to fix it.
Yeah, absolutely. The circulator cannot make a change for the person actually signing. It must be the person signing who crosses out and rechanges their own and initials their own mistakes.
So we'll look at some examples, and hopefully that'll make some sense, because this is a little complicated.
Great. Well, let's go ahead and start out with this petition sheet. It's a fairly fully filled out petition sheet, but there's a few things that we want to point out. On line 4, you can see that Mary actually signed with 2014. I know I've been making that mistake already a few times this month. And the fact is, it was very easy. We had her scratch out her name or her date and just refill in the date with the correct information and initial it. That validates it and it makes her signature valid.
So it's totally fine.
Totally. Number 2 is that it looks like our friend Molly Sampson actually skipped past line 7 so that she could have a full set of information to fill out. That's totally fine. They don't need to necessarily be in order. Lines can be skipped, and that's okay. And then lastly, the circulator, Johnny on the spot, actually did the right thing. He didn't scratch out whenever he misstated his information. All he did was redate next to it. Actually, it has the instructions of that right next to it. And then just to put his initials next to it to make sure that they knew that that was the corrected date.
So remember, circulators don't cross anything out. So Trent, can you spot what's wrong here on this petition?
Yeah, I can see a few things. Number 1 is at the very top. It looks like Johnny this time got a little excited and he decided to label his petition that it was an OEA petition. Once again, if anybody fills out any extraneous information that's other than the voter's signature or the circulator's information, that actually invalidates the entire sheet. So this sheet, unfortunately, would not be able to be counted.
Don't draw any pictures on these sheets, as excited as you are.
And number 2 is that Johnny did another thing, that must have been early, was that unlike his previous sheet, he decided to scratch out the date he signed. And that, unfortunately, invalidates the sheet. A circulator can't scratch out any information in that section. Instead, there's plenty of room where they can rewrite the new information and just update it with their initials.
So I noticed a bonus mistake here, Trent. Our friend Lance Cam on line 5 looks like he forgot to fill in his address.
Oh, well, what does that do for him? Does that mean the entire sheet's invalidated?
So if Johnny on the spot hadn't written about how excited he was, and if he had correctly fixed his mistake down below, this petition sheet would count. But Lance's signature still wouldn't, because you have to have complete information for each voter. So Lance Cam, better luck next time. And as the circulator, you need to make sure you look over the petition sheet before you let them walk away.
Got it.
So that's about it. That's how to gather signatures and how to make sure it's done correctly.
Great. If you have any questions or anything, here's some contact information so that you can reach out and get in touch. We're happy to help you out as you go out and gather signatures. Thank you so much for all your work.
We're really excited to make the schools that Oregon kids deserve.